today's stream. Yeah, we're going to look at some examples today, and these examples are part of sync and part of some of my research so far and what I'm finding with the OpXY. And a lot of the questions I've heard on stream have been like, hey buddy, have been like, how do I use maybe the XY with other pieces of gear? Another question I heard is the OpField still like worth it or still worth keeping? Some of those questions I'm going to tackle today. And yes, some of the research I've been doing so far, I've been on a support chat with Teenage Engineering. Right now, the MIDI sync in the device I haven't had a lot of success with, but the USB sync has been nothing but rock solid. And today, that's when you see me hit the space bar on the keyboard here, I'm running USB to both devices. To be honest, this one is dead in time with USB. This one lags a hair, I would say, not jokingly, but I have to do a so like a 4-second millisecond track bump for this. So yeah, there's been some stuff I've had to, I guess, update or kind of adjust so they work together. And as you notice, sync starts pretty flawlessly between the two devices, and I have Ableton Live as the sync. So we're looking at the Teenage Engineering OpXY with RD8 and OpField, and we're using USB as the sync. So today we're going to dive into how I make a track. And while I do that, I'm going to talk about some of the settings over here about what I do when making any kind of track. So pattern, any of these that aren't lit up are blank. So basically I go to a blank one. Same with here. If I wanted to go to a new, I'm going to say save first, and then I'll say new. Oh, excuse me. And then I'm going to rename it because that's what I do. We're going to call this 8RD is what I'm going to call the project. All right, that way I know I was using the RD8 with it. And then when I start, the other thing I do is I'll turn off the metronome here, and I pick a tempo in Ableton Live. So say I picked 140, and then I hit spacebar. And of course, on this guy, I say length. Then I'm going to choose 4 bars over 64 steps. And I can auto scroll as it's like running. So, oh, and let me make sure USB is the sync. Yep. And then I go to step and start. And then for me, it's about like the hi-hats getting laid down. So you can go to the spots. So I just hurry up and lay down 4 bars of hi-hat. Yeah. And typically when I work on this device, I unmute everything. Yep, so we can hear. And then once that's kind of going, oh yeah, no problem, why not? Yeah, no problem, buddy. Hopefully this helps, right? And then I go to the first track here, and let's say I pick a sound here too as well, because I'm just gonna, right? I did the hi-hat here, I did the kick and the snare over here, right? So kind of like the way I start most of my tracks is the rhythm. And then I will play some stuff live here. So you go select, make sure it's arm to record, and you can just tap. There we go. And then here I'm going to pick my kick drum. Same thing. So everything's synced up. You can see both of these are nice and in sync, and that's with USB. Oh, me talking's too quiet? All right, let me talk a little bit louder too. And so right now, hopefully, thank you for that tip. I appreciate it. Okay, and so now what we got going on is USB sync between the two devices. And with USB is kind of how I get, any of these guys to start working together. And then I did hi-hat pattern and I did the kick pattern. So got both patterns kind of set up. And then once these patterns are kind of going, I'll start live playing again on this side. So let's say we go tom-tom. And I'm looking at where I am in the bar. And you can say auto scroll because it'll just follow. I'm just adding low tom. All right, so low tom is in. and then I go to mid-tom, and again, live recording. I'm just going to be like, oh, I hit the wrong one. Even though I'm going to stick with that hi-hat too. So hi-hat pattern, and then I was doing mid-tom. So I just make like a super easy pattern, right? So this pattern's going now, right? And then what I'm gonna do next is I go over to here and I pick, let's say, another track with bass on it, right? Because that's gonna be our bass track, right? Now, a lot of times as I get kind of working, what's gonna start happening is I'm gonna actually think of what key I'm gonna play in. Lately, I've been playing in Lydian dominant. So if anybody wants to do research, when I start playing the notes that I'm playing, it's C Lydian dominant is the scale that I'm working on. It sounds kind of exotic to me. That's why I like it. If I hold this button down, I can pick how many like kind of bars, like steps. So this is at a quarter of the step ratio, or 4 bars long. And then I'm going to arm it to record. And then I get ready for the 1 in the beat. So really quickly, just get like a pattern in, something easy. And then even on this bass, I turn off record because I'm going to start working. And there's a filter section. Make a little acid kind of bass sound, right? So now that we got that going, I'm going to go to the next sound, which would be a keyboard in this world. So track 1 and 2 are drums, 3 they set up as bass, 4 they set up as like a piano. So both of them are synced up, everything's kind of running normal. And then let's take a listen at if I was playing. That's kind of the scale that I'm working with, right? And then you can live record again. So we're going to say shift. I'm going to turn this into 4 bars. So you see I slowed that grid down. The resolution's still there. So as you record, it'll catch everything. And then now I'm going to just play like very simple chords. I'm going to be like... Right. And I can go to the mixer here and lower that sound and put some reverb. Put it back in the mix, right? So now that we have that, this was me kind of talking about, I'm gonna work on maybe that high tom pattern real quick. I'll tell you, the first updates of this weren't that good, and now that sequencer catches me in real time pretty good, and I just added a little bit of ride cymbal, right? And then, I had that sound kind of loaded, right? Let me give that a little bit more volume. So... Alright, so you'd be like, and that envelope's cutting me off kind of quick, so I'm going to add an effect that I like that's going to keep some of the carry. So you can hear the field sounds great with it, they mix well. And then I mute most of that, mute the drums. So as we make a song, you have control of all your mutes. That long hold here is how you can pick the 8 tracks to mute. And then if I hold my kick, and then those are both there, right? So, and even any of the sounds, like anything we've been listening to long. Right. So So super easy to do the mix. Yeah, and I'm gonna hit save real quick on my pattern on this machine because I don't want to lose it, so I just save the pattern I worked on here with everybody. And then the idea is, as this is going, don't forget you have the arranger. All right, so that trick to making your music progress over time, we've been listening to the same bass line, right, in any of the same, let's say, parts here, right? And let's say I want to make new parts in real time. So the idea is like, how do we do that, right? So basically I can go to the MIDI notes here and I pick tracks, I say new, and you'll notice things disappear, right? So this is us working on our next part of the song, and I just say next on all the clips, right? And then you go to the track you want. I'm gonna live record the next kick drum, right? And then again, this is just live recording the drums in, right? So drums are recorded in, right? And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a new bass line, right? So as the bass is running, everything's running. Now I remember I did the first one like here, so I'm gonna pick a different kind of. So I picked my starting point as, what was that, G minor, right? So if I want to go to do chords now on the strings channel, and I'm going to make that pretty long because I'm just going to make a, G minor string part. So now, right, make them a little darker, right? So this is the next part of the music we're working on, right? And it's weird. It depends on the sound you're using, right? Of course. Let's see where I'm at with this one. This is going to be bad. So I got this like high pitch kind of weird thing here, and now I'm gonna do like a new sound here. So I pick how long I want that. Let's do 8 bars, and again I'm gonna live record, so everything's kind of just staying in time, right? And you're just looking at where you're at in the grid. So one more time. And I use a lot of filters, like as far as like trimming sounds out of the mix, right? That'll be something that I do a lot of times. Like I try to like really tailor the sounds out. Let's take a break for a second and see kind of like what's happening. I don't know if anybody has any questions or anything like that, but the idea that you saw me kind of gently go back and forth between the devices, right? And sometimes you're playing lead, you're going to use your own keyboard. Sometimes you want like a bass and a little bit of a sound and some drums auxiliary, and then you want your main drum kit. And that's typically how, I guess in a lot of the electronic bands that I play in, is my function in the band. I know people are like, well, that seems like a lot. I like playing drums and bass. I like being like a rhythm section. And then you guys are seeing like, well, now I'm playing over top of the rhythm section. And a lot of times that's where I have other people play with me. I'm either going to play like drums and a sound, and then I have like a bass player and a keyboardist, and then this is kind of like how I would sit with them, because I would show up with practice with my OPXY, I would show up my OpField, and I'd show up with the drum machine. And, I always like mixing analog machines with digital sounds. It seems to always be like my favorite, because if I want to go like some crazy drum break that sounds kind of like 80s-esque or 70s-esque in an acid synth, I can kind of make that sound. And then if I want to make some kind of futuristic, less bassy, more clean, you can kind of tailor that depending on like Does that make sense? I think that's kind of like how I kind of think about what I'm doing, you know? And a lot of times on stage, I'm looking for devices. You see how I just hit stage or save there and nothing, and like same with this. Like if this was running and we decided to hit save, do you see how I didn't hiccup? The big thing is I write a lot of my songs like at practice or on stage. Like I don't like, I'm always practicing, so I feel like I just need something that I can save and nobody knows that I just hit save because the singer wants me to go back to like a song, right? So the idea that now too, we looked at making 2 parts so far on the OPXY over top of the RD8, and we've played lead on the OpField, so that's been kind of like the way that this group has been working. And let's look at another example of that again. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and hit play again. And then after I hit play, I'm going to make a new group of parts on this to change the song again. And I'll let you hear the first part, and I'll let you hear the second part, and then we'll make a third part. So that's what we're going to do now. So here we go. The first part was that. And the second part sometimes you can just use the ride symbol to go between the two, right? So see how we made 2 completely different parts. And we really didn't stop anything, right? Right, and so now I'm going to make a third part. I'm going to go 3. I'm going to say every track I'm going to make new. And I do this on all the tracks. I just make new clips. So I know I'm on the third part, right? Just like in Ableton, you make a brand new scene, and now we start playing again. So let's look at how I'm going to do this. So the drums I'm going to do live. There's a kick and a tom right here, right? And again, we're doing this all kind of in real time. So here we go. I'm going to pick another bass line, and it's going to be based on that same key we were using. So this is Lydian dominant C, right? So I'm going to record now. Here we go. And again, the drums are kind of helping me keep. More playful. We're getting kind of stupid. Yeah. And thank you. Why not? I appreciate it. And then I'm going to do some more chords now over top of that. So here we go. And I messed up that one. I didn't play the right chord. I should have played this. Haha. Now there's our new part, and then I'm gonna play like a different lead too, and I'm gonna do 8 times as long. And I like Lydian dominant. It sounds a little bit seductive, right? So let's hear it. There's our new part. Thank you, Blue Moon. I appreciate it. Yeah, here we go. And I'm gonna make my break. Here we go. 4, 3, 2. So our new part now, right? And then I'm gonna record something else. Strings, why not, right? Make it 8 bars long, and I'm going to start recording. So get ready. 2. record my rim shot. There's our break, right? So again, here we are. We're talking about the Teenage Engineering OPXY. We're looking at the Teenage Engineering OpField, and we're looking at the RD8. And I'm kind of using them as, like I said, my rhythm section. I love using analog drums with digital sounds. It's kind of like the way I make most of my music, whether it's Eurorack or little arrangers. And then I was playing lead over top of it with this synth. So we'll go through my parts again, and then I'll play them as if I'm making like a song. And then from my parts, I'll play lead a little bit. And that's what I'll leave everybody with today. So let's take a listen to what happened in today's recording session. Ready? Part 1, so that's what we made originally. Okay, so part 1, and now here's going to be part 2, and I called this the chorus. And that chorus was me jumping to another scene here, right, in the arranger. And then we had yet again a fourth one. And our third one. And our third one has like the lead part, right? Back to the chorus where I'm going to play. Maybe I pulled that off. I don't know. Alright, but yeah, that's me showing everybody like the sync and how I use everything. What I'll say is this. Right now, USB sync with this thing is rock solid. The MIDI ports, for me right now, I have been fairly unsuccessful at keeping it in steady time is the word I'm going to use. Because when I plug in USB, if I start messing around with the device, it like knocks it out of time. So I'm talking to support right now, and they're helping me. So we're going to see if it's my device or it's software-based. And I sent them some videos. So, but I always like sharing what I've been experiencing here. And I don't know what's been happening. And this is what's been happening. I've been learning how to sequence really well with it. I feel like the arrangement section, which is the third dot in, is like the most magical place. Because you can make scenes and you can have your music progress and change, and right now having everything synced, I was just it's just like me hitting buttons on new scenes inside of Ableton. So that's kind of all I was doing there. Yeah, so today was kind of breaking down again kind of how I use the setup so far. Sometimes I do have like some other synths, and I can send USB MIDI out into one of my Eurorack modules with this. And that's kind of been working too. So I've been kind of, controlling the Euro rack with it, which has been a lot of fun. You can see in some of my past streams me controlling other devices with the XY. And right now, like I said, if you want to use it with other gear in Ableton, it seems like USB MIDI is just rock solid. It seems like I haven't had many issues, where the MIDI DIN ports, I haven't had as much success. And I'm using the DIN cables that came with my OPXY, so I don't know if it's the cables. I don't know if it's the actual software. And hopefully they'll get back to me. The other thing I brought a ticket up with support was inside the wavetable device. Basically, the waveforms on a scope are inverted, so as you do it, it's backwards on the scope. So they're going to hopefully work with the people that code it and fix that, because that was one of my other kind of issues I have with it. But other than that, the device, I think it's been past a week that I've owned it. So has it been, 8 days since I spent a lot of money? And it's been great. I mean, I am not disappointed. It feels like Ableton Live in a box. It feels like I'm using an arranger that's like as strong as Ableton. And the way that you save things and the subsystem, I really like using it with Move. I feel like it and Move are like such a fun pair. So I will say the success I've been having using it with Ableton Move has been amazing. And somehow the sync with Ableton Move has been rock solid. Like, the two do not come undone. So I've been really happy with that. Using it with other gear too, I think everyone's been listening. I think it sounds like it mixes really well with, other gear. I know the sounds I make on this are completely annoying. It's probably me yelling at something. But like, I think, someone asked me, is there a really weird difference between the tape loop and the sequencer? And I think yes. This is more like an elastic tape machine that, like, I love playing music, so playing into it is a lot of fun for me, but that's where I can see a lot of people who don't play keyboard or drums, why they wouldn't like this as much. But like, for a live musician, I think this thing, or a sample-based mangle musician, this thing's great. I think the XY is a lot more for techno, people who want to sample and put something on that exact spot, people who make, music inside of an arranger that feels more like somebody said the Roland Phantom. And I would say, yeah, this feels more like a motif, like, as weird as that sounds. Like, the Phantom has clips as well. I think the other thing that has clips is the Bitbox. I think the other thing that has clips is the Hapex is it Hapex? Is that the one? I don't know. There's a company though that uses kind of clips in that same thing, and we sold it at Control Voltage. I just don't remember. So when someone else asked me how much different than everything this is, it does kind of, the arranger aligns with things, but I would say I've never played with a device quite like it. The step effects are insanely fun. This whole you can just make music with the mistakes on the device too. I mean, it's pretty much that fun. So I don't know. I would say right now, after the first 8 days of using it, I'm super duper happy with it. It's a lot of fun. So I'm gonna go make more music and enjoy the rest of the day. I hope everyone has a great Saturday. Watch out outside. I know people are crazy shopping, going crazy. But yeah, I appreciate everybody watching the stream, listening to the music, and I'm gonna play a little outro music and then I'll go. So yeah, nice seeing everybody today. So yeah, I guess that's the last song I was working on with you guys. So hey, I appreciate everybody watching. Hopefully you've already liked and subscribed to the channel. I always hate saying that, but yeah, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're watching me make some music, because usually I'm doing this in a room by myself. So I figured I'd start sharing this. Hopefully I'm sharing some of the knowledge of music that I have, and you were watching the Lydian dominant C scale I was playing, because that was what all of the music was based on today and yesterday, I believe, as well. So some of these exotic sounding scales, that's called Lydian dominant, and I've just been playing in different scale degrees to kind of challenge myself for chords and harmonics and harmonic behavior. And sometimes when you hear things and you're like, man, that sounds pretty interesting, that is what I'm doing. If you have any questions or comments, always let me know, or send me an email. If you want to know more about the OPXY, the RD8, the OpField syncing devices, if you want to know more about Ableton Live, if you need any help, always reach out to me. And as always, thank you for showing up. So everybody have a good day.